I'm recording it whenever you're ready.
All right. Hi, everybody. This is Leighton Brush with Pretzels and History, and we're here in Cockeysville, Maryland, to meet with a friend of ours to talk about the history of computers. And there's a reason that we came here specific at Pretzels and History. We do our own music. We're a big fan of music, and we take great pride in the music that we put out there for our show and out on Spotify and everywhere else that it goes. I come from a background of being a music lover, and my friends were oftentimes music lovers. And a few months ago, a friend of mine sent me this record in the mail, and I didn't know what it was. I never heard it before, but it piqued my interest. I put it on, and it was sort of like a rendition of Nine Inch Nails' Pretty Hate Machine, done with sort of like a video game sound. And I liked it so much that I actually did a quick little remix, and I, in the process, reached out to the guy that produced this record. His name is Inverse Phase. That's his stage name. And it just so happened that he had this little computer museum only an hour and a half away down near Baltimore, and he offered to give us a tour. So here we are at System Source, and we're going to be meeting with our friend Inverse Phase.
Zelda that stores the number of rupees.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Kimmy B here with Pretzels and History. Okay, so one of my fans asked me, what is coming soon? I didn't know what Leighton was talking about, but I did know we were doing a video. So coming soon was that we're here at a computer museum, and we're going to learn all about computers with our friend Brandon. We're going to find out what Brendan does other than to run a computer museum. Also, I know that he's a musician, so we're going to see if these are his two daytime jobs or if he has something else that he does with computers that he decided to have this museum. So we're going to soon talk to him in a minute, and we'll have him introduce himself to you guys. Like, the name of the place is System Source, which is a computer museum, and we are with our friend Brendan, who we have to remember to bring pretzels the next time. And Brendan, if you don't mind, could you tell us what you do for a living, and
Sure.
How this all came about with you in wanting a computer museum?
So, a long time ago in a land far away, I was a kid trying to run a lemonade stand, but instead of serving lemonade, I wanted people to play video games. So I set up a picnic table in the front of my house, and I borrowed my friend's Nintendo because I was a Sega kid. And I put the Sega next to the Nintendo, put up two TVs, and it kind of did a stupid proto-arcade thing where I just asked people if they wanted to pay a quarter and they could play games for 5, 10, 15 minutes, something like that. And I didn't realize that this isn't actually what I wanted to do, but what I did want to do was kind of get a community of people together to play games or, experience tech or, do something surrounding technology. And I was always the kid that was, 7 hours at the mall. My mom can't find me. She goes straight to the Sears electronics department, and that's where she would find me every time. That or the front lobby of Radio Shack or, maybe the arcade. But, there were stops, right? Mm-hmm. And so she could, find me and whatever. So fast forward to about 20 years ago, and I was the head of MagFest, which is a video game party with a rock concert, sort of a thing near DC, and I did that for, 10 plus years. And while I was doing that, we had a video game room imagine that, a video game event having a video game room. So people would go to the game room to play Street Fighter, Smash, Halo, stuff like that. but we also had like Ataris and like other stuff out, and people weren't really quite as interested. There was a specific crowd that wanted to play older games, and a specific crowd that wanted to play newer games. And this is kind of where the like retro stuff started to diverge. So I was like, all right, let's just put it in another room. Let's have the game room, and then let's have the like museum, room, and we'll have all the weird and obscure and old and whatever stuff there. And that ended up being a good choice because people started meeting their people there, and I started to do little pop-ups with old games at events and stuff like that. And fast forward to about 5 years ago, and I've backed off from MagFest, and I'm getting serious about like finding a place to do this for real, in a brick and mortar building and whatever. And I meet Bob, who is one of the System Source guys. He and his partner Maury started this company 42 years ago, which is almost as long as I've been alive. And he says, well, why don't you come up and see my computer museum? And I was like, okay. And, 3 people previous, like that, just the week before I met him, had told me, okay, maybe you should work with the computer museum up in Hunt Valley. And, I Googled it, and it's just this like random brick building and, like behind the spice mill. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll go up there. And now I'm talking to the guy that, like runs the place. He's like, come up, what are you doing Monday? Come up at 9. And I was like, how about noon? I'm not a morning person. And the joke is that I came up here for an hour tour of his place and then I never left. But we'll make a stop at video games. We'll make a stop at Japan. And then, the copy of Oregon Trail that I know you really want to play is actually, don't tell anyone, especially you, YouTube, but the copy of Oregon Trail is actually an original copy of a disc that I pirated in grade school. So that's like a 35-year-old copy of Oregon Trail.
And it actually works.
Yeah, I literally wanted to take Oregon Trail home before I knew that I couldn't just like run an Apple program on a PC or whatever. And so my mom was a teacher, and I copied Oregon Trail and took it home, and it wouldn't read in my computer. I was like, well, I got friends with Apple too, so I can play it over at their house at least, or something like that. But now it's sitting here in a computer, and it's like my copy of Oregon Trail from like when I was a kid. So it's pretty cool.
Well, speaking about video games, maybe you could help me out with this one. So like we were talking about computers, and I told Leighton some of the game systems I had no idea that were computer, because I wouldn't look at it as a computer.
Yeah.
What about Nintendo Wii? Is that a computer, or is that not really a computer?
All systems are computers.
Okay.
They're just purpose built. Like instead of a keyboard, you have a game controller.
Right.
Instead of like a monitor, you hook it up to your TV. But like the only difference between a game system and a PC that you run Windows on or whatever is what it was actually designed to do.
Gotcha.
It's still like you can actually on a Wii, you can get macOS running on it because the hardware is similar to a Mac. They're both. There was a PowerPC G4 CPU and G3 CPU. That's what's in you probably know an iMac.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like an iMac and a GameCube are pretty close to each other, and the GameCube and the Wii are not even cousins. They're like brothers. One of them is just faster and newer.
I had no idea.
So you can actually get macOS running on a Wii.
That's crazy.
And you can get you can boot Linux, which is you probably at least heard of it. You might not use it, but you can get Linux running on a PlayStation, on a Dreamcast, on so you could if you wanted to get serious about it, turn a game system into a computer just by finding a hacked version of an operating system that works on it, right? And then with an Xbox, you need to get a little adapter for the controller ports because they're USB. It turns out they're just a different plug, So like you literally just like anyway. So they're all computers. Yeah.
I wish you would have told him that, because now I can see when we go home, he's gonna be like, "Hey Kim, I want to turn my Xbox into a computer and turn your Wii into a computer." And no, Layton here, no offense, Layton, but I know you're the producer of the show, but I can see you end up breaking it while trying to do that.
And
So we're not going to spend long in here, but you mentioned firsts.
Yeah.
So this computer right here with a Naugahyde couch is a Cray 1, and it is the first supercomputer. And so if you've ever seen Tron...
Propelled into the digital world of the computer itself.
Oh man, this isn't happening.
Or Last Starfighter, the special effects were done on a Cray, but they also did all sorts of like military physics, space simulation, and that sort of a thing on Crays. Anything that would need a lot of power. And the reason that you should look at this is because this is 100 times faster than the computers that we just looked at the same time. Which is to say, this came out in 1975. The computers that we just looked at were only, 10 or, like 5 years older than this, right? So,
Right.
this is around the same time frame, and this computer is easily 100 times as fast.
and takes up twice as much space.
Twice as much
Yeah.
space, weighs
Yeah.
probably 10 times as much. This is 13,000 pounds. There is no way we will ever power it for two reasons. One, it requires 170,000 watts, so we have to ask our neighbors to turn off their building. But two, someone decommissioned it with hedge clippers, so we're probably not going to be able to put power cables on everything that needs to go.
They just went snip, snip.
Yeah, just to get it out of there. Originally, this one, which is serial number 38, was sold as surplus, and so they sold it to a guy that they figured was going to scrap it for metal or whatever, and just strip it for copper and sell the copper and stuff like that. And it's really unfortunate. That's happening to a lot of computers these days. People just ditch a computer and send it off to a recycler or something like that, and they might be recycling history. So we try to recover it, clean it up.
How much is it worth if they would have kept something like this in good condition instead of donating it to museums? How much do people realize that they're not losing a lot of money, where they'd be like, oh crap, if I would have held on to this, I could have got this much money for if I sold it?
That's a really good question. A lot of this is subjective, and it depends on the machine. So you really need to talk to a museum or someone in the know, and be like, this is what I've got. Send some pictures. Take pictures of plates and information and labels and whatever. Even just something like an old TV.
Right.
Might actually be worth something if you look at the back. And just I tell people, just get your cell phone, snap a picture of the model number on the back of the TV and send me an email, and I'll tell you if we want it or not. Because you could send it to the recycler and maybe get, I don't know, for a TV, they'd probably actually charge you, but for, something else, you might get $20 or $100 or something like that for some scrap metal if it's really heavy. But to us, it could be worth, more you could probably write something for $1,000 or more dollars off of your taxes. Wouldn't that be better than, $100 cash in your hand? Maybe. Unless you're not paying your taxes, but maybe you should.
Right.
But,
no, we don't pay for taxes.
But the point is, and we're a nonprofit, so actually, as a nonprofit, nonprofits aren't supposed to tell you Antique Roadshow style how much something is worth, because they consider it a conflict of interest. You could donate this to me and I'd tell you how much it's worth, but then that's kind of like me making a transaction with you. And since I'm a nonprofit, I'm not supposed to do that. Also, some people got in trouble for, there was like a statue that was worth, I don't know, like $20,000 or something like that. And they had it commissioned, but then they donated it for like, and they wrote off like $200,000 or $300,000 on their taxes or whatever. So the donation amount didn't match, like the amount that it was said to be worth or whatever. And so anyway, we try not to get into, like this is exactly how much money.
Yeah.
But like it could be, like it could be a lot. You never know. You should definitely talk to museums. I'm actually talking to a guy down in Virginia right now about getting an old UNIVAC. And it's like just in the attic of some school or whatever. And I'm really like right now I'm kind of worried, although it seems like the staff is, like wanting to find a home for it and whatever. So like maybe we'll be all right, but like I'm worried that it could go to a metal recycler and because they just want the copper and the steel and like whatever from it. So I'm also not saying you shouldn't recycle things, but like there are so many things that we're not recycling right now that we absolutely should. Like, how about some of that? Like recycle those things. You could literally make money by like collecting your recyclables, sorting them, and taking them to a recycler. But does anyone do that? I don't know. So don't recycle a computer that like could be worth money. Consult with someone first and let a museum tell you like you should recycle that. So anyway, this computer is 80 megahertz and has 8 megs of RAM and the 300 meg hard drive, and but in 1975 like that would be a computer that would actually run like Windows 95.
Oh wow.
So like it's 20 years ahead of its time, and that's why I wanted to make sure to show you this.
And that was the Star Trek, right? Because I'm watching a video.
There were some Star Trek computers that were inspired by this. If you saw the circular monitors in the other room, that's obviously like if you look at the bridge in Star Trek, like all the monitors are circles, not squares, and whatever. Yeah. I think that was where they got that idea. So
probably wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. All right, come on down the hallway.